vocally on an ongoing basis is really, really something that I think we need to celebrate as a society. So coming up on the show, today's a Thursday. The second hour of the show will be getting into Municipal Watch. And today we'll be focusing on the Rand West local municipality. So you have areas such as Randfontein, Western Area, Mohlahlana, Bekkersdal, Ventersbos and Finsbury that fall under the Rand West municipality. You would also know that it's one of those municipalities that has been under siege in as far as illegal mining is concerned. And, you know, the community there has long been complaining about some of the challenges they've been experiencing. So we'll get into that particular story from the 10 o'clock hour. And then the final hour of the show, we're going to be looking at property and some of the indexes where property is concerned. And we'll look at what is happening in the entire country, right? What are property levels looking like, especially when it comes to prices? Where have we seen the greatest improvements in property sales? Where are people wanting to live? And what is actually driving some of those decisions is the conversation we'll have in the final hour of the show. So, of course, we start off the show with the open line, your National Roundtable, and I'll be taking your calls on 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. So still lots of reaction and analysis on the budget that was tabled by the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana. And ultimately, right, I think that it is going to be up to us to ensure that we hold the Treasury and the Cabinet accountable in as far as some of the commitments that have been made in that budget. So I know much of the conversation has centered on value-added tax, but I want to shift that lens a little bit this morning and have us look at some of the commitment that has been made by the Finance Minister in as far as the spending review of government is concerned. So interesting analysis by News 24's Carol Payton, who is a phenomenal journalist. And one of the reflections she has made this morning is saying that the issue around VAT, in particular, the position of the Democratic Alliance where VAT is concerned, is a bit of a red herring. She argues that the DA has agreed and had agreed to a 0.5 percentage point increase in VAT. But alongside that, had also put a submission to the presidency that contained a list of things that it wanted the ANC to commit to. And this is with regard to the spending review. Contained in that list, argues Carol, is also a scrapping of the sector education and training authorities. And these are USETAs. Many of us would know them as USETAs, which is something that the government just, the ANC, of course, did not agree to. And the minister said to have found the list of demands by the DA unreasonable and unrelated to the problem he was trying to solve, quote unquote, Carol Payton there. So when we look at yesterday's budget speech, there was a portion of the speech right towards the end that the minister focused on the issue of the spending review. I want you to listen to what he had to say on this matter.
But where are the savings, Mr. Steenhuisen? Where did you point him to in the consultations?
There are plenty of savings to be made across all government departments.
We are not deaf to the public concerns about wasteful and inefficient expenditure. We know that we must earn the taxpayers' trust every day by spending public money with care and ensuring that every rand collected is spent on its intended purpose. Since 2013, as part of the ongoing evaluation of the operation of government, national treasuries and provincial treasuries have undertaken 240 spending reviews. These reviews range from a number of things such as officer accommodation, fleet management, and so on. However, we have agreed, out of a long discussion with colleagues in government, including the President, that we need to focus on this area of spending reviews, and as such, change the institutional arrangements that we have and locate the spending reviews in the President's office. We are going to give that institutional capability moving forward. The consolidated recommendations of these reviews and other things, including this, as I've indicated, the President has also undertaken to do this, to take this work together with National Treasury.
So effectively, the Finance Minister saying that they will be undertaking a review of government spending across the board. Their aim will be to identify waste, inefficient and underperforming programs. And hopefully this is going to lead to an effectiveness in the overall spending of government. In a conversation earlier with my colleague Thulasizwe Simelane, John Steenhuisen emphasized the need for a spending review and said they were not satisfied that this had not happened prior to the budget.
But where are the savings, Mr. Steenhuisen? Where did you point him to in the consultations?
There are plenty of savings to be made across all government departments, and that's why we said that there should have been a comprehensive spending review done, that the Ghost Employees initiative should have been initiated before we had to start trying to find these holes, and that we should be sending out signals into the market that focus on a very clear direction of growth. There's not much in that budget that speaks to investors around how we're going to move from 0.6% of growth.
So where we are now is that this budget that has been tabled will now be heading to the various committees in Parliament. And that's where we are really going to see the heart of this standoff, of this battle, because ultimately it's going to come down to what stays and what goes in as far as those budget allocations are concerned. So absolutely, there is this opposition to VAT, but we must not be so focused on it that we don't pay attention to what then is going to be happening in these committees and the debates and the concessions that are going to be taking place in these committees around which programs of government are going to stay and which programs are going to go, especially if the commitment for a spending review is implemented in the way that the minister has committed to yesterday. So we must not lose focus. We have to keep the same commitment and the same energy in the way that we did around increases in VAT to pay attention. What are the spending allocations going to be in health? What are the spending allocations going to be in education? What are the programs that are going to be potentially cut, potentially defunded? Because in the end, you know, those programs are also the ones, and yes, I'm going to say this, there are also some of those programs that are enabling the networks of patronage that exist within the government infrastructure right now. There are also those programs that enable some of the corruption that we see right now. So, yes, the budget is tabled, but it's still far from over in as far as the standoff and in as far as the debate and the concessions and the true benefit for South Africans. We're yet to fully know and see how it is that we are going to fully be affected by this 2025-2026 budget. All right, I'll take your calls. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107.
Dr. Nikki Alexander, Dr. Thomas Chamberlain, and Dr. Jack Hodgson form a dedicated team of forensic pathologists who try to work out how and why the victim died. This series sees Nikki investigate a murder that's a carbon copy of a case from her past. She soon suspects that the killings are personal to her. But who will believe her? Meanwhile, Jack creates tension when he finds himself aligned with a police complaints investigator over the accidental shooting of a girl by armed police. And a seemingly random killing in the remote countrysides leads Nikki and Jack into the dangerous underbelly of a criminal world. This is Silent Witness, Thursdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. Starts 20 February only on S3. Open up.
Who will rise in the Hollywood Bets Pro Series, where the top 8 women's cricket teams face off against each other to lift the inaugural Hollywood Bets Pro 50 and Pro 20 trophies? Local pride is at stake with the log table taking shape. Waza nawe! Get down to a stadium near you and show your support. Visit cricket.co.za for more information. Entrance to Hollywood Bets Pro Series matches is free.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us. Because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
South African Library Week is here from the 17th to the 22nd of March 2025, celebrating 24 years of libraries driving literacy, education and community growth with the theme Libraries for Sustainable Communities. This week will be officially launched on the 14th of March at Zanani Community Hall in Makhado, Limpopo. Join the celebrations at your public, academic, school and special libraries across the country. Follow LIASA's website and social media pages for all updates. Brought to you by LIASA, the Library and Information Association of South Africa, appreciating our partners, sponsors, Department of Sport, Art and Culture, EBSCO, Makhado Municipality, Ndende Technologies, National Library of South Africa, Sabinet and UKS. Hashtag SALW 2025, hashtag We Are Sustainable.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start then in Norwood. Temba, good morning to you.
Good morning, sister. How are you?
Good.
I'm also good. Yeah, look, my sister, you know, let me start by saying our government is very lucky to have a population like us. You know what they are doing to us every day, and to us as a citizen, become life as usual, normality. You can't increase VAT, you can't. People now at this time, they are no longer, they can't afford anything now. Anything, they can't afford anything. And then you go there, you increase VAT. Why should they are supposed to increase those other VAT, those other tax, or cooperative tax or whatever, tax more, not you target the poor, the original South Africans who are suffering right now. Most of people are not working. There's nothing. The economy is not functioning. Why you do such? Our government, my sister, is very large, but they are calling us to be free because we can't afford, my sister. We can't afford 0. We don't need any. It's either they take it down, not to increase it. That is difficult. Think about people who are staying. Think about the people who are staying in the squatter camp. They are not, my sister, people are suffering. And then those guys in the ANC or in JNU, they are not going to be affected by this because they have got their food everywhere packaged from government, everything they're given from government. Us as the people in the ground are going to suffer. That's why they can't feel anything. But I want to challenge fellow South Africans. Look around our neighbors. Look at Mozambique, what they're doing. If we are not happy, we should take it on the street and show them this is our country. We can't be told by those people. We can't. We can't. And the more we relax, we go to TikTok, we make videos, more smoke weed, drugs and whatever. We forget about our future. Then where are we going as a country? Because if you go to TikTok now, they're busy dancing, they're busy weekend, they're full street drinking everything. And that is very bad. This is the time where we should spend as a South Africans. Because if you see our nation, my sister, I'm bleeding because I know our people, where they live. I know the condition. I'm engaging with them every day. I see how they suffer. I see how our people are going through. It's not affecting those who stay in suburbs, Mozambique and wherever. No, go to the location, to the real South African and see how dire is the situation there, my sister. But now you have a government who does this. Why they should increase the VAT by 0.5? What does that mean to the ordinary South African? No, my sister, let us, guys. No.
Okay. Temba, I think you've made your point, and I can hear just how frustrated you are. And you're absolutely correct, Temba, that it is ultimately the poor and the middle class that are going to feel this increase the most. Because yes, one might have a wholesale you might have an increase, even where some zero-rated foods are concerned, but the ingredients going into that food are not all zero-rated. And so you will still see increases. So even though brown bread might be zero-rated, the ingredients that go into brown bread are not zero-rated. So then you are going to see an increase in the price of brown bread. And so it almost becomes intuitive in some respects. Okay, we'll take a couple of WhatsApp voice notes that will lead us into the 9:30 news headlines. I'll continue with your calls on the other side of this.
Money, Lady Cathy. This is Robert in Shawena. Madam, I've got a few questions that I would like to ask African leaders, African president. Why is United States not a member of the ICC? Why do we have to have military camps from America in Africa? What are they there for? Who is monitoring the weapons, ammunition that is coming within those camps? However, can't they see that having BRICS is the only window that can free Africa? And BRICS is the only institution or organization that can set Africa free, is whereby we can have our own African currency. African leaders, just wake up. America is bullying everyone. Even today, still bullying Europe. Europe is going to come to BRICS. This is the only way we can free ourselves. Thank you, madam.
Good morning. In the headlines, the Black Business Council says there's little to be excited about on the budget delivered by the Finance Minister, Inoko Dongwana. Gauteng police have arrested one of the prisoners who escaped from the Maputo Maximum Prison in Mozambique at a car hire dealership in Sandton in Johannesburg. And the Electoral Commission has set out a 6-month period for further inputs and consultations on the discussion documents on e-voting that will eventually be sent to Parliament. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
On the 1st of July 2022, the President of the Republic of South Africa signed the National Forest Amendment Act 2022, Act number 1 of 2022, the Amendment Act, into law. The President has now proclaimed the Amendment Act and determined its commencement date as the 4th of December 2024. The Minister has also published amendment regulations which seeks to give effect to certain sections of the Amendment Act. A copy of the proclamation notice and the amendment regulations can be accessed on the following websites: www.dffe.gov.za/legislation/gazetted notices or www.gpwonline.gov.za. Any communication or media inquiries in connection with the publication can be directed to Mr. Peter Mbelengwa, Chief Director of Communication and Advocacy. The telephone number is 012-399-8842 or the cell phone number 082-611-8197 or email pmbelengwa@dffe.gov.za. Copperbelt ladies and Durban ladies both want to collect maximum points in the early days of the season. Who will dominate this 90 minutes? Limpopo or KZN? This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. Copperbelt ladies versus Durban ladies on Saturday 15 March at 11:30 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Whatever happens with the budget, this will be the best one ever. It's the first budget we're ever going to have in democratic South Africa that the ANC will not be allowed to loot unfettered.
Morning, Cathy. South African citizens, some of them are not honest. They don't know what they want. They focus on DA, on color, not on facts. If DA was supporting this, they will say ANC is selling them to DA. Now the DA is opposing it together with those enemy parties. Now still, people.
Hello, Kate. It's Tammy in East London. The ANC has buried itself by what it proposed on the VAT. All they are left with is the arrogance. And next year, they will be in shadows because of such moves. Because I don't understand why is it difficult for them to cut down on on that size of parliament. Those ministers and deputy directors, I do not know what are they doing there. I really do not know. Instead, it's the average person who's going to suffer because of this increase on VAT.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Yeah, thanks for those WhatsApp voice notes. And our last listener there, I think what he's pointing to is absolutely correct, because ultimately it is now going to also be for the political parties about who gets to take credit for what, because everybody will be wanting to ensure that they're able to score, in inverted commas, as many points as possible. And it is going to be hard. So you think about what a spending review is likely to do and the impact it's likely to have on various departments. It's not going to be easy, because some of the measurements or some of the reviews might actually be more than just cost cutting. You might have heard the minister yesterday also calling on ministers and DGs and HODs and MECs to embrace a holistic spending review and to support it, right? To embrace it and to support it. But this is really now going to be where people are being touched on their studios. And yeah, we must just prepare ourselves for what that might fully entail. Thabo, you're in Kroonstad. Good morning.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Sis Cathy is now really is bad. Things are bad. I want to help you now, Sis Cathy, to say as the GNU government is a budget which was tabled by the minister yesterday is going to take place. As the DA say, it doesn't approve that budget. The time of pensions and then child support grant and things is going to happen. And when? That is a question I want to ask. As DA wipe everything on the table, is things going to happen or not? Can you give me an answer, Sis Cathy?
So, Thabo, I want to understand, are you concerned about whether or not there will be grants in the new financial year?
Yes. They say they don't approve the yesterday budget.
Yeah.
Now, the question as a citizen now, are we going, I'm now 76 years, when are we going to get our grant 130 increase? When is going to happen? Because DA white everything, they say they don't approve the budget. That's the question.
Look, for now, Thabo, there's no real reason to worry for now, until such a time as the voting in Parliament takes place around the aspects of the budget that needs to be passed. So you only really need to worry once it gets to that point and there's an outright rejection, let's say, of the SRD grant. But at this point, it doesn't look like there's going to be that.
They do suggest, Cathy, to say that it's going to go through, as the DA say, is holding a dark room to say they keep open, but the exploitation hanging over their head. We are not trusting anything because they failed to meet before the table of the budget. John Steenhuisen say straight, they failed to meet before the ANC ambushed them, like all South Africans, because the suspension of the budget was done because there was disagreement in the GNU government. The ANC came again with the ambush now. I'm wondering if maybe I will just listen to what other people are saying. Thank you, Sis Cathy.
Okay. Oh, all right, Thabo. I hear what you're saying. Look, and I guess some of those concerns are legitimate in that when opposition parties say that they are rejecting the budget, then you have every right to be concerned about whether or not it is going to be passed. But that's also why I'm saying this morning that part of our focus now must also shift to what the spending in the departments is going to be. What are those budget allocations for the various departments going to look like, and what programs and projects are they going to be funding? Because that's where then I think you'll have a greater sense of how we're fully going to be affected, including from a service delivery point of view. Arthur, you're out in Pongola. Good morning.
Good morning, Kate. How are you?
Good, Arthur.
First, I just want to pass before I went into my point. I just want to say thank you. Last year, August, I came to a program and talk about a forensic report, which a certain federal enterprise did not want and was hiding. Fortunately, in September last year, they gave us 2 forensic reports. They betrayed on that to say they don't have it anymore. Thank you.
Wonderful, Arthur. Thanks for the feedback.
Coming to this point of the budget, I'm very disappointed about our government. And it appears that this government we have doesn't respect the South African citizen. They postponed the budget sitting meaning to say they had to go and iron up some of the things. Now, when they come back, they are not supporting each other. They are not in agreement with something. And it's a budget that is a disastrous budget. Based on what they have submitted, the minister, they are taking from the poor, and then they don't care about the unemployment rate. They don't care about the system, what we have, and they don't have a clear vision where to cut. So my submission is one. Why don't we push to dissolve this parliament end of the year and then start afresh? Because it appears that the parliamentary politicians and parliamentary political parties that are in parliament, they cannot just match what is the president Ibrahim Traore at Burkina Faso is doing. We are led by ships. Let us dissolve the parliament. Thank you.
Arthur, okay, I hear you. Arthur in Pongola. I suppose to Arthur's point, part of what maybe would also be disappointing would be the reflections of the finance minister in as far as the growth problem that we have is concerned. There's, of course, a broad acknowledgement of the fact that this country's economy is not growing at the rate and scale that it should, which is why we find ourselves facing the myriad of problems that we do. But does the budget respond to that? Does it answer questions clearly in as far as how exactly we are going to reach our projected growth targets? Tabang, you are in Bloem and you want to touch on something different this morning. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Ombuds report that was delivered on Monday. The issue of Tom Landa. Katie, I want to relate the issue of Tom Landa with the NHI. The Ombuds report is, in terms of infrastructure and so forth, is not something that we don't know. We know that in public facilities, health facilities, most of our infrastructure is dilapidated and so on. I think what is critical in this particular case is to say that the issue of NHI becomes important because for someone like Tom Landa, who is a broadcaster, at some point I believe he had medical aid and so forth. And now that at some point he did not have money to be able to go to private, he then went to government facility and found the conditions in the state that they were. Now, the point I'm making is that it's in the interest of everybody for us to be able to say NHI should be able to work. NHI should be able to function. Because at some point, anybody who will be able to say, I don't have money anymore, they will be able to go to health facilities that are up to standard. And I think that is the point I'm trying to drive this morning to say, it's in the interest of everybody for us to be able to support the project of NHI to ensure that public health institutions are up to standard. Because those who are working currently might think they are better off, but as soon as they are unemployed or they run out of money, they can't go to a private healthcare facility. Now, when they go to the public healthcare facility, then they find this problem. And to them, it then looks like it is a surprise, which it's not. So it is in the interest of everybody, in particular those who are in vulnerable sectors, because it's clear that even those who are freelance journalists and so forth, they are vulnerable because when their work stops coming in, it means you are not able to afford healthcare. Yeah. And I think that is the point that I'm trying to make this morning. But I think it's not a new report from the OHSC. For us, we are aware that public healthcare facilities, because we use them every day. But the proposal of NHI on the table, we should be able to support it so that we can improve.
Tabang, I don't think that I've encountered many people who reject the idea of universal health coverage. I think most people support the idea of universal health coverage and also, understand the need for universal health coverage, because even the fact that people take out medical aids, they don't do it because they necessarily want to do it, but they do it because they feel, well, this is the better option in terms of what I'm confronted with. But the questions around the NHI are still questions that have to be clearly dealt with, including the funding of NHI, the regulatory frameworks. And those are things that we can't run away from. But I don't think that when somebody questions the modality of the NHI, they're necessarily saying that they are against universal health coverage.
Yeah, no, Katie, we understand, and I think that is the idea that everybody supports, universal health coverage. Yes, in principle, we all do it. We all support it. But I think for us to be able to talk about the regulatory framework and the funding model, we should not be putting those as obstacles to say, no, we should not start implementing or at least start moving with the NHI, because that is the impression that is given to say until these things are fixed, we therefore are not able to move. The Department of Health cannot implement NHI, and I think that is stalling the process. I mean, if there are people who are saying the regulatory framework is not clear, they must tell us what exactly do they want to see.
I think that's why you have the challenge in court, Thabang. That's why you have the current challenge in court, because there's a portion of the industry that feels that its input is simply not being taken on board, and that the health department is forging ahead despite what they deem as very, very serious concerns.
No, the court case, I'm not an expert in law, but I mean, those who are taking the NHI to court, I mean, they are protecting their private interests. And Tom London is telling us that when you don't have money, you can't access private health care. That's what Tom London is telling us. To say, once you don't have money, you can't go to a medical clinic. So medical clinic, they are protect these private institutions, healthcare facilities are protecting their interests.
Okay.
Their interest is not to say we want this NHI to work. They are saying our interest is at stake, and therefore they try to make this smoke screen to say the issues of regulation and so forth is not clear. And I think that is what we should be able to dissect as the public. To say what are the genuine reasons that private healthcare facilities and institutions are stopping this process for.
All right. I hear you loud and clear. Thabang out in Bloom. We're going to pause it there. Let me take a break. I'm back with more of your calls after this.
After what transpired in Loftus last month, the boys of Coach Rivero believe this is the perfect time for revenge against Masandawana. But the highly confident Brazilians want to double the Buccaneers' pain as Mnyamangenkani versus Kabuyelo. This is a massive meeting of giants, the Betway Premiership. Witness Mzansi's beautiful game, Orlando Pirates versus Mamelodi Sundowns on Sunday, 16 March at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Something big is coming. 6:30 will never be the same. Amalanga Wafani, only on SABC 1.
My name is Blade Nzimande, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation. No nation can hope to achieve its development goals without meaningful investment in science, technology and innovation. To enable this, we need a responsive and transformed national system of innovation. From the 13th to the 14th of March 2025, the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation will host the inaugural National System of Innovation Summit. The summit seeks to accelerate the transformation of our national system of innovation with the view of making it more responsive to our national priorities and developmental goals. The Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, making it possible.
50 Rand won't get you anywhere nowadays, but Outsurance is still dedicated to saving you money on your car insurance. Get a quote, and if Archurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash and make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get monthly savings on your car insurance or cash in your pocket. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Archurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
All right, let me continue taking your calls on the open line. Your national round table, 086 000 2032 is the number to dial, 086 000 2032, and on the WhatsApp voice note line, I'm taking your messages on 0614 104 107. That's alongside your voice notes as well. Thomas, you're in Newcastle. Good morning.
Morning, Sis Cathy. So somebody just reminded me, Sis Cathy, that Mr. Kikaba said we will be fine, we will be all right. and some of us we thought he was talking about South Africans. He wasn't talking about South Africans. He was talking about themselves, whoever themselves is. I can say that clearly because from yesterday's analysis and all that from your guests, nothing was considered by the guys when they passed the budget. And the catch is here. Most of us blacks, as you would tell, I am black, we're looking at it from the point of view of white people versus black people. Not understanding that the DA said, and I'm not DA member by a long shot, DA said, this is not good for the South Africans. We're not hearing that, we are hearing it being said, this is not good for us, white South Africans. And right now we're crying, most of us who are thinking, we're saying it's going to be hitting us the most. And our politicians are basically saying this, the ANC that would be. They are saying, we will give you everything in terms of the grants and all. But we will take part of that grant in VAT. And unfortunately, they are not only just going to be taking the grant, they are going to be taking more than the grant. Whilst the DA was saying, let's cut down on, for instance, the fat that is dripping on our ministers and their deputies, and the directors and deputy directors and chief directors and all other directors. We don't need all of them. That's just means of making sure that the cabal is all right. Thank you, Sis Cathy.
All right, Thomas, thanks for that. Thanks for that reflection. Look, I think we have to remain vigilant across the board because remember, all of these political parties have their interests to protect and they have their constituencies to serve, and we have to see it through that lens across the board. I don't think that there's any party necessarily that can say that it does not take into account the interests of its constituencies in terms of how it behaves or carries itself within Parliament. And that's true across the board. Mzwandile, you are in Gqeberha. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. You know what South Africa is facing, it has been facing since 1994. And I think we, as a citizens, allow the goalposts to keep being shifted, including the media, and I'm saying that respectfully, Cathy. Let's just recap. In 1994, where the South Africa, which was a nearly entirely white-owned economy, that is, its means of production, the contributors to state fiscals were largely white companies and so forth. Blacks didn't really participate there, with the exception, obviously, of those who were working and VAT, and so on and so forth. So the large contributors really were white. And what subsequently happened is, when the ANC took over, it now had to bring services which the large majority of black people were deprived from: healthcare, roads, water and sanitation, schools, and so on and so forth. Those are the things that became a drag on the South African fiscus, meaning, therefore, what we began to have is a fiscus which was largely only concentrating on minority grouping, which were white, now had to cater for the larger South Africa. Where the challenge is the black majority, which now
began to take advantage of those services were not contributors back to that fiscal. That has been the issue since 1994 till now. Now, what we really should be asking is, how do we grow the economy? The economy cannot be grown by whites. It can only but be grown by blacks. So anything that is growth related in South Africa thus far has been largely white companies. It has not been by black people, apart from consumption. So our question should be, how do we grow, one, economic participation by blacks, two, means of production, in terms of ownership of means of production by the black population? That is what we have not been able to address since 1994 till now. The unfortunate of what has happened since is that our dependence to draw services from the fiscus are increasing, largely by the black population, but that very population is not recontributing back to the fiscus. So every time we have a budget, what we should first ask is, how much of this budget is going back to invest in the black population so that black population, one, becomes economically active? We're not talking state jobs now. We're talking creation of an economy by blacks so that those blacks can employ other blacks, and that pool of inclusion is what begins to be contribute back to the state. Then last point, Cathy, we as South Africans are only voting once in 5 years. Now, in the absence of that, the question then becomes, who must force the government towards the accountability of these very issues which we are discussing? It was the media, or it was the opposition parties and the media. The opposition has now joined government, meaning in the absence of opposition, where I think we are totally reliant on you as the media. So hence I'm saying, when the goalpost keeps on shifting and you guys don't actually hold the government accountable and ask them, listen, how many of our people were included in the mainstream economy? How much of the funds are being invested to industrialize black people? We will be discussing this issue for the next 30 years.
Okay, Mzwandile, really great point that you've made there out in Gqeberha. Nqonde, you're in Cape Town. You'll wrap up the open line for us. Good morning. Nqonde, good morning. All right, I wonder what happened to Nqonde. Apologies for that. We seem to have lost you on the line. Okay, yeah, thanks for all of your contributions to the conversation. I think some of the insightful comments that you've shared in as far as the debate around the budget is concerned. Coming up next, it will be the latest news update. On the other side of this, we will get into a municipal watch. And this morning, we're going to be looking at the Rand West local municipality.
In our top stories, 2 suspects killed in a shootout with police, and Black Business Council reflects on the budget speech. Good morning. 2 armed suspects have been fatally shot and others wounded during a shootout with police in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg. Police say the suspects were wanted for multiple ATM bombing incidents and other serious crimes in Gauteng and neighboring provinces. Gauteng police have arrested one of the prisoners who escaped from the Maputo Maximum Prison in Mozambique at a car hire dealership in Sandton in Johannesburg. The prisoner is one of more than 1,500 prisoners who escaped during Mozambique's unrest in December. The escapee was arrested for murder in 2015 and sentenced to 20 years. Police spokesperson Athlanda Mate says he can be linked to several cases of theft.
The SAPS Border Policing High Density Team has been hard at work in ensuring they track and trace those that may have made their way into South Africa. So on Tuesday, the suspected fugitive of justice was arrested at a car hire dealership in Sandton. Upon further investigation, we are investigating and linking him to several cases of theft of motor vehicle in Gauteng, where he would rent 4x4 bakkies, smuggle them over into Mozambique and have them sold in that country.
The Black Business Council says there is little to be excited about on the budget delivered by the Finance Minister Inoko Dongwana. The budget proposed a VAT hike of 0.5 percentage point this year and another 0.5 percentage point next year. Black Business Council CEO Hanki Matabane says any increase on VAT would have negative impact on the future of small businesses.
Remember, when we're a small business, and most of them are not even registered for VAT, so you can't claim money back. What you have to do, you have to find a way of then getting that money through increasing prices. And once you increase prices, we're in a very, very competitive environment. And then what happens? You have to compete with big companies that they've got deep pockets, and then you're going to end up having a lot of small businesses closing shop. That will increase unemployment because, remember, small businesses are creating the bulk of the jobs in South Africa. So we need to find another way.
Meanwhile, the ANC has called for engagement on the VAT increase. The ANC's chief whip Mdumise Ntuli.
There is a strong call to reject the 0.5 VAT. Now we have an opportunity to sit down. The budget is with us. We must then engage. What is the alternative we have which we can explore excluding the VAT? But we also want, when that engagement is taking place, we also have to look at what is it that the minister has proposed should be exempted from the VAT, and to what extent the exempted goods or products actually cushion or protect the poor in our country.
Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi has given the assurance that recommendations of the Health Ombud over the Helen Joseph Hospital in Johannesburg will be considered. The Health Ombud highlighted lack of security, non-payment of food service providers, dirty linen piling up in the corridors, decaying infrastructure and poor governance and leadership as some of the challenges at the hospital. Motsoaledi believes what happens at Helen Joseph Hospital could be signs of similar challenges experienced at other hospitals in the country.
But I also said it is definitely not only Helen Joseph. So this month we are going to have a National Health Council where I'm going to unpack, because I've been singing a song about this infrastructure. The reason that the president mentioned infrastructure during the State of the Nation address was not because of Helen Joseph. The results were not yet out. It's because we told him so that we have got a big problem of infrastructure and HR in the healthcare system because of the budget cuts that happened over the years.
The Electoral Commission has set out a 6-month period for further inputs and consultations on the discussion documents on e-voting that will eventually be sent to Parliament. The public is urged to make their contributions on the IEC's website. The INC ended a 3-day conference yesterday that discussed the feasibility, sustainability and policy implications of electronic voting. The IEC's Deputy CEO, Masiho Shiburi, says those who want to have a say on the prospects of electronic voting have until September to make their contributions on the Commission's website.
As a way forward, we will have a window of opportunity now that the discussion document has been launched, to have a focused period of 6 months to deal with key stakeholders, to have focused discussions in order to improve the discussion documents. We will record the feedback that we receive, and for those who want to make submission, you can go to our website and do so. There's a link related to e-voting to make your submissions.
Recapping the top story, 2 armed suspects have been fatally shot and others wounded during a shootout with police in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Specsavers now looks after your hearing as well as your vision with Specsavers Audiology. With 60 stores and counting, we are South Africa's largest audiology group. For a limited time only, buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. You heard right. Buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. Find your nearest store at specsavers.co.za. Specsavers Audiology. Test your hearing and join the conversation. T's and C's apply.
This is a story of Vodacom's impact.
I didn't know anything about computer. I learned a computer after I passed my matric, and Vodacom is doing an excellent job in the youth of South Africa.
This is why we do it. Over 1,800 Youth Academy students trained, with 250 placed in ICT coordinator roles at our schools of excellence. That's why we're the #1 CSI contributor for 8 years running. See more at now.vodacom.coza. Further together, Vodacom.
These are the weekend shows on SAFM. Music of Africa with Shayla Ndikumana. The Jet Set Breakfast with Michelle Constant. Seasons with Khomotso KG Mweketsi. The Soundtrack of Your Life with Ernest Pillay. Weekend Soundowner Classics with Kutlwano Masote. Spotlight with Zai Khan. The Weekend with John Kherika. Rhythm of Africa with Shayla Ndikumana. This is SAFM.
Consumers must demand safe and high-quality foods, particularly food products. This year, on the 15th of March, we celebrate World Consumer Rights Day under the theme Empowering Consumers, Balancing Rights with Ethical Practices. We call on all suppliers to prioritize ethical sourcing, responsible lending, transparent terms, unwavering commitment to consumer rights, and meet food safety standards. Visit the National Consumer Commission on ncc.org.za for more. We are about the consumer.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. Welcome to the second hour of the show. Coming up in this hour, we'll be getting into our Municipal Watch feature. And today we're focusing on the Rand West municipality, just on the other side, I guess, of Gauteng, and we'll be looking at Western area, Randfontein, Mutlakeng, Bakersdal, and some of those areas, and taking a look at the state of affairs there. Before we get into it, lots of your reflections on the budget. It of course is the conversation that dominated our open line. We're going to play some of your voice notes and then get into Municipal Watch.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
Hello, Cathy. That is most plain and simple, right? All of these ministers, I'm definitely sure these are almost all family members of whoever. That's why they're there. I mean, they are doing nothing. All they do is stealing.
Hi, Cathy. Please tell the people of South Africa that the DA does not have a problem with the VAT increase. Even if it's 20%, they don't care. What the DA is doing is to leverage on its position in the GNU to scrap the land, the land redistribution without compensation, to scrap the Bella deal. That's what they are on. They're using this VAT just to get your attention. But what they want has nothing to do with that.
Good morning, Katie. It's Robert in Jimistin.
I want to ask you, when those old men like Gwede Mantashe, Plain Demand and others will leave the parliament, when gonna leave the parliament? Because our parliament is full of old crocs. I thank you. It's Robert Ellen Chimistin.
Good morning, Cathy. Lennon Khwedi. Cathy. Yeah, I just want to talk about the issue of Gayton McKenzie. While he addressed the issue of the people who are living with AIDS and HIV and AIDS in the continent, and that they were howling at him as if he didn't know what he was talking about, because the fact that they enjoy every right with medical aids that are so expensive, yet they pay nothing out of it, and the poor that today Gayton McKenzie was speaking on their behalf is the ones who are paying for all of those expenses. And yet they forget that even right now, as he has said, that there is no alternative to the funding that Donald Trump has already stopped. And the option is just to talk to America. And they were howling at him. Shame on them.
Good morning, Cathy, and to my fellow listeners. South Africans must swallow what they have chewed. They must deal with what they have voted for into government some few months ago. And I can tell you now, and mark my words, all those political parties that are part of the so-called GNU, they are going to vote in support of the budget. So you must remember, the first task of the presidency of Mr. Ramaphosa was to increase VAT from 14 to 15%. So he's doing it now again. So South Africans, these people, they have been voted into power. They did not impose them. We have voted them into power. So we must deal with it. Thank you very much. Tapelo Pawel Pilusa, Mapsanganyi Village in Guyana.
Hello, Cathy. Can we now all agree that the ANC is anti-poor, anti-black? Can we all now agree? Have they now made it so clear that they don't necessarily care about the needs of those that are marginalized in this country?
Cathy Takatayo in Ofimvao. Finally, the budget was tabled yesterday, and the SRD is continuing until next year. And 130 for our mamas and daddies, 30 rand for child support, 70 rand for foster care, and 0.5% times to 1% until next year. All those, according to me, I think they are going to make difference in our revenue if corruption is going to be kept. But if this government of ANC is still arrogant, I don't think that the corruption is going to be kept. Thanks, Cathy.
It was fast, easy, and he gave me the best quote. My savings is 644 rand. Come join our insurance and save some money.
Nice one, Lebo. Saving 644 Rand a month on your 2019 Mazda CX-3 would also make you so happy you might drop a beat. Outsurance clients know what it feels like to be on the winning side. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Switch and save today. Outsurance is always looking for ways to save you money. They are also committed to settling valid claims fairly and quickly. No hassles.
You know your claim is going to be taken care of and you've got support along the journey.
SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
My name is Blade Nzimande, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation. No nation can hope to achieve its development goals without meaningful investment in science, technology and innovation. To enable this, we need a responsive and transformed national system of innovation. From the 13th to the 14th of March 2025, the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation will host the inaugural National System of Innovation Summit. The summit seeks to accelerate the transformation of our national system of innovation with with a view of making it more responsive to our national priorities and developmental goals. The Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, making it possible.
From the 10th to the 16th of March 2025, the South African National Biodiversity Institute, SANBI, is hosting its first National Gardens Week. Visitors can enjoy free entry to all national botanical and zoological gardens across South Africa, including Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden and the Pretoria Zoo. This year's theme, Grow Your Joy, invites visitors to embrace nature, wellness and community by taking a peaceful walk, joining a guided tour, or learning about conservation in some of the country's most breathtaking green spaces. Nature has never been this open to all. Celebrate, protect, and enjoy biodiversity wealth. Visit www.sanbi.org for details.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
We turn our focus this week to the Rand West local municipality. It has areas that include Randfontein, Western Area, Motlhakeng, Bekkersdal, Venterspost and Finsbury, which fall under it. Now, there are a number of service delivery issues that residents have been raising over the years, including issues around water, sewage spills, electricity, and of course illegal mining within that particular area. Recent floods have also led to the damage of infrastructure, increasing the sewage spillage that has been experienced, particularly in townships. Just recently, there was an incident where a 2-year-old child died after falling into a manhole. Let me welcome onto the show Councillor William Matseke. He's the Executive Mayor at Rand West Local Municipality. Councillor Matseke, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners.
Paseka Ndevu is a leader at the Greater Western Area Community Forum. Paseka, good morning.
Morning, Cathy, and morning to the listeners at home.
Tebogo Mokolwane is a community leader in Bekkersdal. Tebogo, good morning.
Morning, everyone, and all the listeners. And also, I'm the leader of Rand West Stakeholders Forum. I'm the chairperson in Rand West. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for being part of this conversation. We're also hoping to bring on board Ntibadze Masipa, who is a journalist with the Daily Sun and has been regularly reporting on some of the issues within the Rand West local municipality. I'm going to begin in the way that I always do, which is really allowing the members of the community to speak to us about the state of affairs within their local areas. So, Paseka, as somebody who is a leader within the Greater Western Area Community Forum, perhaps tell us about what the state of affairs in your municipality is, and just some of the issues that you, as members of the community, have been concerned about.
Yeah, firstly, Katie, the issue that I want to raise as the mayor is one of us in the panel. The mayor must know that they are violating the Chapter 2 of the Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights. Our communities have no access to running water on daily basis around Rand West municipality. For an example, you can go to Road 18 in Motlhakeng, Phukule Street, Legodi Diale. You go to Bekkersdal, Road 32. There's no access to water. Trepe Street, Rabanye, Maxkoon. There is no access of water at all. People stay for longer periods without access of water. And there is this thing of water tankers, mafias, who are tampering with our infrastructure, especially on water reticulation, so that they can benefit after tampering those that infrastructure. Secondly, we experienced the issue of the sewer network. Western area, especially moreover in Pakistan and Mohlahlana, there is a problem of sewer spillages. When you enter Pakistan, on the main entrances in Road 33, Panya Street and Promoya Chaba, there is a sewer spillage that is compulsory every day. When you enter that area, there is a spillage even next to Pakistan East Clinic. When you go to Mohlahlana in Road 19 at Rakali Street, next to Malerato Primary School, there is also sewer spillage that is occurring on a daily basis, and it affects the lives and the health of the primary people who are attending school in Malerato Primary School. Also, late last year, Cathy, we had 2 incidents. The other one of 2 kids who died because of incompetency of our municipality. The other one died in Extension 11 in Mohlahlana in a pit. The other one was electrocuted in Semi Street in Mohlahlana 122. The municipality, they said they are going to investigate. Even now, we're still waiting for those in the report of the investigation. The other thing that we want to know is a forensic report that was initiated by the municipality on the regular appointment of Kwane Capital. Kwane Capital was appointed to supply the commercial fleet and the yellow plant to the municipality. And the appointment was made in 2017. Even now, the executive mayor has never presented that report to our communities. We have the issue of non-functional stormwater drainage system in the whole of Rand West. We have the issue of potholes around all Rand West townships and towns. So we've been requesting this municipality, we've been engaging with this municipality, but it means it shows these people they don't take us seriously. We as the communities around West Rand, we are saying this municipality must be indicted and must be placed under Section 139. In fact, this municipality must be placed under administration.
Okay. Paseka, let me thank you for that outline in as far as the Greater Western Area Community Forum is concerned, and just some of the issues you wanted to put on the table. Tebogo Mokolwane, you are a community leader in Bekkersdal. Let me give you a chance then to speak about some of the challenges you've been experiencing.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Tebogo Mokolwane. I'm staying at Western Area Borwa, and then also I was born in Bekkersdal. And also I want to greet all the communities of Rand West and greet the executive mayor of Rand West. Firstly, let me just put it very clear. The issue of the service delivery is the issue of working together, because I believe that we got issues that are affecting our communities, especially issues of job creation, development, and service delivery. But I want also to make it clear that if we are not working together to make sure that we are dealing with issues that are affecting communities, we are still playing games, because the communities, we must work with the municipality, we must work with the private sectors to make sure that our communities, they get proper services. And another issue, remember, most of these communities were unemployed and we can't even pay services. Now, also the municipality is under pressure because we are not paying services also because we are not working. But we must have a solution that working together we can do more, especially the issues of water is affected by Randwater because Randwater is the one that is dealing with water. And then the issues of sewer is also the issue that we must have programs that we can teach our communities that you can't put a blanket in a sewer. Obvious, that sewer will block, will make a mess. Now, those are the programs that we have to work together with the municipality and make workshops to our communities. And also remember, we are coming from the apartheid. The apartheid system was only for few individual capitalists who were only thinking that these towns or townships, they are small. The infrastructure is the apartheid infrastructure where they were putting infrastructure for only white. We understand now this government, as they take over, they are also facing lots of challenges that has been created by the capitalists of the apartheid system. Now, the main program now is to come together as the communities, municipality, government, mines, and make sure that we deliver proper services. Because I can't blame the mayor. Also, I'm the leader. We must come together and bring solutions at the end of the day. We got mines here. We got, example, we got Sibanye, we got Goldfields. Those mines, they are doing billions of rand. Those mines, they must invest in the community to assist the local municipalities. Because if you can check, the issue of the illegal mining is not the municipality issue. That issue is the issue of the mines, because they have retrenched, Sibanye, they have retrenched close to 4,000 people. And remember, those people, they were working, they got families, they are paying school fees for their children. And then even today, those people are staying in the shacks. It's not the mayor who have put them in the shacks, but the system of the capitalists of the mines. They have made our people to be poor. Now, the solution, these mines, they must contribute to the development of this area. And another issue, like now we are busy as the Randwest Stakeholders Forum and SANCO to make sure that our communities, they get proper development. We are busy with the TVET college that we are going to build in Borwa. Already the budget, we have put the budget, South Deep Community Trust, who have contributed money. South Deep, they have contributed. Sibanye, they have contributed. Now we're going to build a TVET college that will also deal with the education, engineering, and also the agriculture, because we got this land in West Rand is the agricultural land. We must also teach our people that we must go back to the roots, where we can create more jobs by farming, by doing agriculture.
Okay.
And also...
Okay, Tebogo, I think you've had an opportunity to raise some of the issues that you wanted to on behalf of the constituency of the community that you are representing out in Bakersdal. It's 10:30. We're going to take a quick break. I'm back. We'll hear from the mayor of the Rand West local municipality. We'll also hear from the Daily Sun journalist Ntebadze Masipa.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news headlines on SAFM, I am on Delambana, and a very good morning. 2 armed suspects have been fatally shot and others wounded during a shootout with police in the Niger south of Johannesburg. Police say the suspects were being sought for multiple ATM bombing incidents and other serious crimes in Gauteng and neighboring provinces. The Public Servants Association has welcomed Finance Minister Godongwana's announcement of 23 billion rand additional funding to cover the 5.5% public servant salary increase over the next 3 years. And President Cyril Ramaphosa remains ready to offer any assistance in bringing to an end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 18 rand 37 to the dollar, 23 rand 78 to the pound, and 19 rand 97 to the euro. Markets in Asia ended today's trading session mostly in the red, the JSE mainly higher during mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are trading weaker. Gold is trading at $2,934, platinum $978 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $70.93 a barrel.
We've upgraded. Our new GIS-linked national address database lets us connect with you better than ever before. By visualizing licensed and unlicensed households nationwide, we can ensure timely communication. Our payment reminders are a crucial tool to help you stay compliant and avoid penalties, empowering you to take proactive steps. Efficient electronic communication helps us collect fees seamlessly, bolstering the SABC's mandate in line with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
South Africa's domestic 50-over cricket competition, the One Day Cup, hits fever pitch this week with the final set for Sunday 16 March at Bolland Park in Paarl. Gold Rush Bolland has finished the top of the log and secured a home final. They will take on the winner of the qualifier match between the Hollywood Bets Dolphins and Momentum Multiply Titans. Gather your family and friends, Waza Nawe, and be part of the action. Get your tickets at cricket.co.za.
Hi, my name is Kutlwana Masote, your host of Weekend Sundowner Classics every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. exclusively on SAFM. Now, this is where you get your best classical music jams on any radio platform. Join me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between 4 and 7 p.m. Weekend Sundowner Classics.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
We continue the conversation on the talking point, looking at the Rand West local municipality for Municipal Watch. Today we've heard from the community representatives, Paseka Ndevu, Tabo Mokolwane, and I want to give an opportunity to Ntebadze Masipa, who is a journalist with the Daily Sun, and she's been covering a lot of that municipality. Ntebadze, good morning to you. Thanks for being part of this conversation.
Morning to you and the listener.
One of the things that I've sort of seen, especially where your coverage has been concerned, is noting what seems to be an increase, particularly with the challenges around the sewage spillage in the Rand West municipality, that has also led to some protests in that area in the last couple of months.
Yes.
Tell us more about it.
Not when I get got to know about Bekesal is when I was working with my colleague, Fleming Retry. And I went there, and the first thing when you get there, you are greeted by a heavy stand of a sewer. And then we did several stories. There was a time, even when the police station, there was a leaking sewer there. And then also in the clinic, can you imagine going to a clinic to be helped and only to find for it, the smell of the sewer alone makes you sick, and you are there to seek help. So we've covered that, and with the municipal spokesperson promising us that they will attend to the situation, but only to find written on back in the program keep on preparing. You get in the street, there's also the sewer on the street. It's just a mess, Coco, because that people there feel they're being like neglected. But when it comes to the body elections, you find that's then the municipality official will come there and then do some things as if they are working, they are caring for the people, and after those elections, those people disappeared. Well, that's the thing with Pakistan. We did stories, but it seems like they don't care, and they don't care.
Okay. Ntibadze, thank you for that contribution. The mayor of the Rand West local municipality is Councillor William Matseke. Councillor Matseke, you've been listening to what it is that representatives of the community forums in your municipality have had to say. You've also heard the contribution of Ntibadze a short moment ago. Let me give you an opportunity to come in and respond and perhaps talk us through why it is that the municipality is facing the kind of challenges that it is, and if we can begin with the issue of the sewage spills and the water disruptions that this area continuously faces.
No, thanks, Cathy, and once again, good morning to your listeners and good morning to the panelists, Paseka, Tebogo, and Ntibadze. I think, Cathy, before we even go into responding to what they will have raised, it's also very important that we need to educate one another on how government works, so that in future we must not make a mistake when we make comments, especially with regard to service delivery. I think yesterday most of us we will have listened to the Minister of Finance presenting the budget. And part of the presentation of the Minister will have also focused on issues that are related to DORA funding, which is the Division of Revenue Act, which then divides the revenue of the state. It's supposed to divide it equally towards all the three spheres of government in the country. In our discussions and deliberations with the presidency, with the premier, with the MEC responsible for local government, we have made it clear, Cathy, that since the dawn of democracy and since the restructuring of local government in 2000 through the Structures Act, the division of revenue would have been done in a way that it concluded that municipalities will be able to raise enough revenue for them to run their own affairs. But on a number of issues that will have been raised by the panelists, especially in relation to the unemployment rate, just to share with the listeners and to share with the panelists, out of all the revenue that the state collects on behalf of government, local government is only allocated 9% of the division of revenue, and there are 257 municipalities in the country, and the division is done in a way of looking into the population of different municipalities. So what we receive as a division of revenue from the National Treasury, it's a drop in the ocean on our responsibilities as local government. Because I've listened to Paseka mentioning issues that are related to Chapter 2, issues that are related to the Bill of Rights, and I want to agree with him. But you know, Cathy, and everybody that is listening, every right they've got their own limitations and responsibilities. Our constitution is a well-renowned constitution that allows everybody to really participate in the affairs of their own government. And Tebogo summarizes it quite well, that the municipality is not the responsibility of those that lead the municipality. The municipality is the responsibility for everyone who lives within the municipality, either be residents, political leadership, or the administration of the municipality. So when we took the responsibility of leading the municipality in 2023, part of the things that we will have done when we arrived there is to assess the infrastructure of the municipality. And we have realized, Cathy, that both Western Area and Randfontein, if you can recall, there were two separate municipalities before 2016. They were then merged in 2016 to form what we now call Randwest City. Both these municipalities are old municipalities with aging bulk infrastructure. We then came up with an infrastructure master plan that we will have costed, that we will have submitted to both the provincial treasury as well as the National Department of Finance, for them to really fund us on issues that are related to our aging bulk infrastructure. Because I fully agree with them on issues that are related to the sewer spillages all over our town. It's because of we are still using the old pipe system of asbestos in terms of our infrastructure. We are not using the recent plastic pipes to control our sewer network towards our water treatment plant. So we have submitted that bulk infrastructure through the Western District Municipality through the district development model for them to be able to then assist us as a municipality to address issues that are related to the complaints that will have been received and raised by our communities, both in Bekesdal and as well as in Randfontein. But our provincial government will have also went a step ahead. They will have introduced the Bekesdal Urban Renewal Project, which was phase one previously, which really did not do justice to the people of Bekesdal, I must admit, as a resident of Randwest. Currently, there is an ongoing Bekesdal Urban Renewal Project, which is part of the phase two of Bekesdal Urban Renewal in Bekesdal. And the terms of reference for the Bekesdal Urban Renewal Project is to also look into the aging pipes, waste pipes that are currently installed in Bekesdal. And all of us were unhappy with the conditions of Bekesdal. And we have made it very clear to the MEC of Human Settlement as well as the Premier of Gauteng that it can be correct that a township that is 80-year-old is currently facing such a lot of challenges in terms of the sewer spillages that we're experiencing in Bekesdal. When we had a Bekesdal Urban Renewal Project that is managed and controlled by the province, and now we are currently have an ongoing project that is also managed and controlled by the province.
So then, Mayor, what is leading to the deteriorating state of affairs when it comes to this infrastructure that is supposed to be in place? Because I hear you about not having enough budget allocated due to how exactly the budget is divvied up, and that's a complaint that every municipality has. It's a complaint that every province has. It's a complaint that every department has, right? Nobody ever has enough money to do what they want to do. But at the end of the day, you as a council are able to sit down and list your priorities and decide what it is that you are going to be spending your money on. So when it comes to the case of deteriorating infrastructure, especially where the sewage spills that also leads to the lack of water, lack of access to water for residents is concerned, why is it getting worse?
You know, Cathy, I was getting to the point that you are making when I was making reference to the issue of Pakistan. That currently we are attending through the provincial government on issues that are related to Pakistan. And we must not make a mistake when we say what is it that we are currently doing with our own budget. Because where we are seated, our budget is dependable on the revenue that we are generating from our own residents. And Teboho is quite correct to say unemployment is a bit of a challenge for us as a city. Let me make an example. We are collecting around 196 million from those that are able to pay. And we are not saying those that are unemployed, it's their own mistake that they are not able to pay the municipalities. The manner in which the whole process of budgeting for the municipality is centralized. Now, the problem with what we are collecting for both the towns, so, whether it's in the Western area or in Randfontein, is that we have a commitment to pay for the bulk electricity purchase of around 86 million during summer. During around the winter, it goes up to around 140 million. Now, you must have an appreciation of the 196 million that I've made mention of. Now, out of that 196 million, we need to pay for our bulk electricity purchase, which is around 86 million. We then have to pay rainwater because of their utility responsible to supply us with water, around 43 million. You can do your own mathematics. It's already running around 120 million of what we are collecting or generating every month. Out of that, because of the merger that will have happened in 2016, we then have to pay salaries of our own employees, which is around 55 to 60 million if we also include third party. So we are left with generally close to nothing for us to then service our own people in terms of service delivery. But because of we've got an appreciation that our people cannot be able to pay for services, we have then approached provincial government and national government. And that is why I've made mention of the infrastructure master plan when we arrived here. We sat down and we immediately said, how do we make sure that we address all the challenges that I have to do with service delivery and on all the major issues that Paseka will have raised, on issues of the sewer spillages, on issues of our waste, on issues of stormwater, on issues of potholes. We then conceptualized the entire plan, and then we submitted that plan. Fortunately for us, we then received a pre-approval from National Treasury in terms of funding us for those that will projects that will have submitted to assist us. So it is at a pre-approved level for us to attend to those issues. The truth of the matter is that both Western area and Randfontein, it has old bulk infrastructure. And over and above that, you've got over 6 developmental projects that are currently ongoing. So what could have happened, those that came before us would have approved this building of more households within our own city without necessarily looking at the aging bulk infrastructure. We have an appreciation that we become successor-in-law when you take over the responsibility of leading the municipality. And we are not necessarily blaming anyone for that omission and a mistake. Because before you increase the capacity of your population, you need to make sure that much as you take care of the city at the top, you must also take care of the city underneath.
Okay, all right.
Because of that, how the system works.
We're going to take a quick break. I'm back with more of this conversation after this.
The citizens are not willing to settle for anything less than a win.
And now it's with Haaland and on to Foden. Foden to finish the game. And he does.
However, the Seagulls want to triple their efforts to collect valuable points against reigning champs.
Lovely touch for Mitoma, and Mitoma could be away. Here it is. Mitoma one-on-one. Mitoma, delightful.
This is the Premier League. Witness the superb contest, Manchester City FC versus Brighton and Hove Albion FC on Saturday, 15 March at 4:30 p.m. Live on S3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
We continue our conversation this morning looking into the Rand West local municipality. We have the mayor from that municipality on the line alongside some of the members of the community. I want to bring in Anonymous. Anonymous, you're calling us from the West Rand. Good morning. Good morning, Anonymous.
Good morning, Cathy.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm well, Anonymous. You're live on the radio. What do you want to talk about?
I have a problem with, I'm one of the frustrated community members. My car fell in a trench on the 80th of November last year, due to the construction of that is underway. It's called TCT. And until this day, my car is bodily. You do see on the side, no one is saying anything except the site manager, who would also allow my sister come and take your car. And, you know, it's so frustrating because that car is a Banabaka Skolong. Injury. I can't even walk long distance. Koleyaka is on the side at TCT. Ibodile. Because making I've sent in the photos there for the labor. So you guys are my last hope.
Yeah, Anonymous, yeah. My team is just pulling up the pictures of your car. So there was construction taking place in the street. What exactly is happening there?
There was construction taking place. Construction in the Mobegezale and Gantoya Sewer. So Bafatilo all over the location of Fatilo. And that place was not even barricaded because during the day I passed there. Then it happened that day, on that particular day it was raining. So what tell who the rest all over. That's when so another very same site manager confirmed that the place was not even barricaded. He said to me, he mentioned that, he confirmed that to me, there was a strike Kamugana because of electricity. So those people on strike, they took that net on the pit, inside the pit. That is why the place was not even barricaded. The very same pit where my car fell,
William, the issue that Anonymous is raising is related to a story of a child that fell into a manhole in your municipality as well, and another child that was electrocuted in Seme Street, because the problem is that there are issues of manholes, open manholes within the area, and you're well aware of this, right?
Yeah, no, we are, but we need to separate the three issues, Cathy. Because Anonymous, I really feel her pain, but the problem with TCT is that it's a company appointed by provincial government on issues that are related to the Beggersdal Urban Renewal Project.
But working in your municipality.
Yes, allow me to explain, Katie, so that she's got an appreciation. And that is why last year I convened in Bizo with the MEC, precisely on the complaints that I will have received from the residents of Beggersdal in relation to their dissatisfaction in relation to issues that are related to the Beggersdal Urban Renewal Project. So anything that has to do with TCT, currently it's a construction site. They signed a contract with a provincial
but surely there are municipal bylaws, Mayor, that companies should be adhering to. Then those bylaws are enforced by you.
No, bylaws in such a contract, they don't apply. You signed an MOU and SLA with the department, not with the municipality.
Okay, I don't understand. Mayor, you're going to have to explain it to me. Just hang on. Just hang on. You are saying that the presence of a particular service provider that is contracted to the province, that the signing of an agreement with that service provider supersedes the implementation of bylaws in your municipality. So therefore, they don't have to comply with the safety requirements and regulations that the municipality has put in place to protect its residents because of this agreement.
Cathy, let me correct you there. And also so that we also educate our listeners. When you enter into a contract with a service provider, there's what we call a site handover. The contractor takes full responsibility of the site. And we are not saying Anonymous is wrong. You must hear us loud and clear. We are with Anonymous, and we support her issues that she's raising with us. We are not saying the bylaws are suspended. There is, at the current moment, TCT is responsible for Bekkersdal Urban Renewal Project with all the conditions that governs issues that are related to contracting. That has got a legal implications on TCT. So Cathy must be, not Cathy, the Anonymous must be able to come to the office, will be able to direct her to relevant people at the department so that she can lodge.
So part of the, Mayor, the roads that are being worked on are public roads. Because this particular ditch in which Anonymous car has fallen is a public road.
And I'm trying to explain that part. Once a service provider has been appointed, we hand over the site to the service provider, whether it's a public road or not a public road. Let me make an example.
Okay, so in the handing over, just hang on.
Yeah.
In the handing over of your site, you are then saying that you have no say over whether or not the contractor is implementing the required safeguards for members of the community, because these are public roads. So
no, you're not hearing us, Cathy. There is a steering committee of for the project. I'm saying to you currently as we speak, the complaint that Anonymous is speaking to, and she's correctly mentioning TCT, was it's a company being appointed to fix the road infrastructure in Bekkersdal. Now, we are not. It does not necessarily mean the bylaws are suspended, but at the current moment, as it stands, is the responsibility of TCT, whatever that happens there, legally and so. So that's what I'm saying. Let's separate the three issues. This one in relation to TCT will be able to assist Anonymous on issues of claims and any other issues that are related if she's receiving any.
So Mayor, when you have a service provider that is digging up holes all over the municipality, as is happening in Bekkersdal, to the point where it is resulting in damage to property, the loss of lives. We've already lost the life of a young child who's fallen
not in
into...
Bekkersdal. They can say separate the three issues. It's not in Bekkersdal.
So when it comes then to the issue of Bekkersdal, are you saying that as council, you take a step back and you watch what is happening because it's effectively out of your hands because you've handed over that site?
You're not hearing me, Cathy. I'm saying to you, on a weekly basis, there's a steering committee where the municipality is represented. But currently, the Bekkersdal Urban Renewal Project is the responsibility of TCT as an appointed service provider.
And I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying to you that whatever wrong that is taking place, yes, legally, they might be obligated to respond to
That's
it,
the point that I'm trying to
but
make.
the municipality still has a responsibility to play. I'm saying to you that you cannot absolve yourself of the responsibility.
The responsibility of the municipality happens in the steering committee where we raise issues that are related to the project and everything
that is related to us as a municipality. Now there's a claim. And this is what I'm trying to explain to you, and you are interjecting me. I'm explaining the part of the claim, that currently the site legally has been handed over to TCT. Is the responsibility of TCT legally? We are not necessarily giving that responsibility of the municipality in terms of our obligations to TCT. No.
So how have you held PCT accountable? How have you held them accountable?
We spoke about the SLA that you enter between provincial government, ourselves, and TCT. There are penalties that goes against everything wrong that happens there. That is why I'm making this reference to say.
Yes, and I'm asking you, and I'm asking you, how have you held them accountable? Give us examples of what you have done as far as how they're conducting their work.
Exactly to a point that I wanted to make with you. Last year, late last year, we received a number of complaints. We had a stakeholder engagement session where we called the TCT, we called provincial government through human settlement, and then we allowed stakeholders to raise
William, I'm going to have to pause you there. I'll give you a chance to continue on the other side of the news.
Thank you, Cathy. Top stories: an armed suspect killed in a shootout with police in Lenasia, and PSA welcomes additional funding for public servant salaries. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good morning. It has now emerged that one armed suspect has been fatally shot and several others wounded during a shootout with police in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg this morning. According to police, the suspects had planned an ATM bombing in the area this morning. The operation forms part of efforts to curb the recent surge in cash-in-transit heists and ATM bombings in Gauteng and neighboring provinces. Major General Nonkululeko Kopukane has further details.
A crime intelligence operation led by the South African Police Service together with other law enforcement agencies, including the SAPS Tactical Response Unit and the JMPD, received information in the early hours of this morning. At the scene, a shootout ensued and one suspect is deceased. 4 are arrested, 2 others are hospitalized, and 5 others are still on the run.
Gauteng police have arrested one of the prisoners who escaped from the Maputo maximum prison in Mozambique at a car hire dealership in Sandton, Johannesburg. The prisoner is one of more than 1,500 prisoners who escaped during Mozambique's unrest in December. The escapee was arrested for murder in 2015 and sentenced to 20 years. Police spokesperson Brigadier Atlanta Mate says the escapee can be linked to several cases of theft.
The SAPS Border Policing High Density Team has been hard at work in ensuring they track and trace those that may have made their way into South Africa. So on Tuesday, the suspected fugitive of justice was arrested at a car hire dealership in Sandton. Upon further investigation, we are investigating and linking him to several cases of theft of motor vehicle in Gauteng, where he would rent 4x4 bakkies, smuggle them over into Mozambique and have them sold in that country.
The Umkhonto Sizwe Party has won the by-election in Ward 2 in Richmond in the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands. The seat was left vacant after the resignation of the ANC's ward councillor. The party won with 54.2% of the votes. The MK Party's Msizi Dlamini is the newly appointed councillor in this ward. Richmond has traditionally been an ANC stronghold. The ANC secured 39%. The Southern African Development Community will this morning hold an extraordinary virtual summit of heads of state and government. The meeting will discuss the security situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Bunolo Maribe reports.
The emergency SADC meeting will get a report from the organ on politics, defense and security, which deliberated on the escalating situation in the Eastern DRC. In this meeting, leaders will also discuss whether troops deployed in the DRC should be withdrawn. Recently, South Africa lost 14 soldiers who have been deployed as part of a SADC peacekeeping mission. Meanwhile, the M23 rebel group fighting with the Congolese army have proposed a political dialogue to the Kinshasa government in an effort to reach a ceasefire in Congo, but has yet to be materialized. Bonolo Maribe, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The Public Servants Association has welcomed Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's announcement of 23 billion rand additional funding to cover the 5.5% public servant salary increase over the next 3 years. However, the Labour Union has raised concerns about conditions attached to departments on the wage bill. Government has warned that only departments that have demonstrated their ability to reduce their wage bill will be entitled to the funding to cover the new wage increment. National Treasury has proposed 11 billion rand to incentivize workers over 55 years to exit the public sector. The PSA's Claude Naker.
If you're looking at broader society, from not only our members' perspective, from the public sector side or from the public, delivering a suitable and proper service, you need adequate staff, especially in education and health. If you're going to let these people go without having a proper plan in place, I think we're heading for a crisis. So we're cautioning members to think very carefully before one takes this package. But we hope and anticipate that government will have a clear plan as to how they're going to attend to the serious shortage of staff within the public sector.
President Cyril Ramaphosa remains ready to offer any assistance in bringing to an end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. That's according to presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya, who spoke to SABC News ahead of today's 8th South Africa-European Union summit in Cape Town. The summit takes place at a time when the world is grappling with a number of challenges. Magwenya says the summit also takes place during Pretoria's G20 presidency.
We are delighted that it's a summit that we are hosting in the same year. We are also leading as South Africa the G20. And so with respect to the agenda and the issues, certainly we will be looking at the consolidation of the partnership. We will be looking at various areas of mutual interest and trade in particular.
Recapping the top story, it has now emerged that one armed suspect has been fatally shot and several others wounded during a shootout with police in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg this morning. I am on Delambana for SAFM News headlines at 11:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
South Africa's domestic 50-over cricket competition, the One Day Cup, hits fever pitch this week with the final set for Sunday 16 March at Bolland Park in Paarl. Gold Rush Bolland has finished the top of the log and secured a home final. They will take on the winner of the qualifier match between the Hollywood Bets Dolphins and Momentum Multiply Titans. Gather your family and friends, Rosa Nawe, and be part of the action. Get your tickets at cricket.co.za.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us. Because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Hello, I'm listening to the program on SAFM, and I'm one of the residents in Western area, but I was born in Bekesdal. And the service in Bekesdal, it's worse. It's worse, and it's so pathetic when there are funerals. People can't even carry their people into their yards because the roads are flooded with sewage, and the person must be carried from the house. And you know, the undertakers can't even go near the gates. And all that, I don't know what should be done, because Bekesdal has been left behind. Nothing is done for Bekesdal. Only people who know why can give us the reasons why they are not doing anything for Bekesdal. And even Paseka there, who's there, Paseka knows why Bekesdal is not getting the service. He knows. And it's of no use for him to come and present himself on the radio and speak well about himself. Yo, Batu.
Morning, Cathy. My question to your guest there is, did he clean the corruption? Because it's not mentioning anything about corruption. Did he clean the corruption that was being done by the previous administration? Number two, if he was elected or being deployed to be the mayor of that particular district, did he check how much does the municipality owes? The negative of the municipality's account? Or he just decided to go around and celebrate and say, I'm a mayor? That's a big problem of our fellow brothers. That they can't open their eyes. You can't celebrate. For example, you can't celebrate for being a chairperson of VBS Bank. They're in a minus of millions, billions. And my fellow brothers just walk in so simple and think you'll turn things by overnight. That's very wrong, brother. That's very wrong. Now we're neglecting people because you can't tell us the performance of the previous administration. I thank you. Justice.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, it is 11 after 12 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the show. As you can hear, we're continuing with Municipal Watch just for the next couple of minutes so that we are able to wrap up on some of the issues we weren't able to conclude within the 10 o'clock hour. So you would have heard the call from Anonymous, whose car fell into a hole that has been dug up as part of the construction that is being undertaken in Bekkersdal, and the sense that we get from our listeners in that part of the municipality is that this is construction that is taking place in different parts of Bekkersdal, but there is a great deal of negligence. There's very little signage, and so these accidents are happening. The mayor has confirmed that these are issues that have been raised with him, but he says the responsibility lies with the service provider, as the site has been handed over to the service provider, and therefore the municipality can only intervene through the steering committees and the meetings that they held. I'm correct in what I'm saying, Mayor. That's the crux of what you have said.
Yeah, Cathy, I want us to really move on this issue, and it's precisely what I will have indicated. But I also want to request Anonymous, because I've seen the pitch now on the incident that happened in November, and I want to request Anonymous if you can reach out to our office so that we are able to then speak with the Provincial Department of Human Settlement and TCT in us addressing her issue, because I also wanted to respond to two issues that you have raised in relation to the issue related to
Look, Mayor, I'll be honest with you. We are going to come back to this issue of the construction that is taking place in your municipality. It won't be today, but we are going to look deeper into the issue, because I don't think that it is necessarily correct that you can say that you are not responsible for what is happening, and that there is some there's some limitation in as far as how you can go about implementing your bylaws when you have a service provider that is clearly not in compliance with what they're supposed to be doing in as far as the construction that they're carrying out is concerned.
The SLA's got conditions. All the conditions are there for the service provider. So when we have this discussion, it's also important that we must have an appreciation on what do we call a construction site, what do we call a handover of the site to the service provider that has been appointed. No one here will have said that the bylaws are not applicable or implemented in such an area or such an issue. But I'm more than welcome for us to have a
That is what you have suggested, though, Mayor. That is what you have
suggested.
No.
I said to you, there's a steering committee where we are represented as a municipality, where the service provider with the province gives an update to the municipality. And I've also mentioned that there were complaints that we will have received on the inconvenience that, even the voice note that we just listened to regarding the funerals, on how people of Bekkersdal are inconvenienced. That's the reason why we then had an imbizo to address those issues together with the MECs, to show our people that we are concerned on the issues that they are raising, much as we will have handed over the site to the company that has been appointed for Bekkersdal Urban Renewal Project. Are you still there, Cathy?
Yes, you said you had other things that you wanted to respond to.
No, I wanted to respond to the issue of and these are not related issues. We are aware of the incident that happened with the 2-year-old child, and we want to indicate to the listeners as well as to Paseka, because I've heard Paseka mentioned in this, because we're in constant communication with the family. The investigation has not yet been concluded. We have received the preliminary report for both the 2-year child that would have fell into an open manhole, allegedly fell into the open manhole, and the child that was electrocuted in extension, in Seme Street in Mohlahlana. Both the preliminary reports are there. How council works, we need to take the items to council, and then from there on, we have agreed that a thorough investigation must be persuaded so that we are able to then give a proper report to the community in terms of the two incidences that could have happened, but they are not related to the Bekkersdal Urban Renewal Project.
So when it comes then to these open manholes and some of the danger boxes, the miniature danger boxes, have you been able to conduct an audit to get a sense of how many of those you actually need to close?
We have done that. In fact, in Mohlahlana, as it stands now, we have appointed a service provider with professional services, a person who are on site in relation to exactly the issue of the open manholes, for them to give us a thorough report, and also to look at other areas where we need to make improvement. But what we also picked up, and it's something that we really don't want to share with our listeners, but there's also issues that are related to criminality in terms of those incidences that would have been reported, including what could have transpired when the child was electrocuted. Like I've said, this is a sub judice matter that we are still under investigation. Once the final report will have been done, we'll then share it with the community, because it's not our report, it's the community, it's the report of the community, and the community needs to know what could have transpired.
All right, we're going to leave it there for today. Councillor William Mateke, Mayor of the Rand West Local Municipality. Anonymous, I don't know if you're still on the line. You heard what the Mayor has said in as far as your incident in particular is concerned.
Yes, I've heard I've heard everything.
Okay, all right.
So, how do I reach out? On which particular office should I go to?
Yeah, our producers will facilitate that for you, Anonymous, and all the best to you, right?
Thank you so much, Cathy.
Yeah, all right. All the best, Anonymous. Anonymous car still lying on the side of the road since 8 November. It's been how many months now? It's been about 4 months, that this accident has happened. And only today is there a move to say, well, we'll intervene. But we're supposed to then believe that this is a service provider that is being held accountable, that this is a service provider that is being made to comply with the municipal laws. Really? Okay, we're going to continue with this one. For now, we'll wrap it up here.
Bafana Bafana are taking on Lesotho at the new Pitamukaba Stadium on the 21st of March 2025 at 6 p.m. for the FIFA World Cup 2026 qualifier. Come early, dress to commemorate Human Rights Day and support Bafana Bafana for a chance to win prizes from our host, Limpopo Government and Polokwane Municipality. Gates open at 3 p.m. and tickets start from 70 Rand for adults with special rates available at 40 Rand for children under 12 at all Ticket Pro outlets. If you can't make it to Polokwane, catch the game live on SABC2 at 6 p.m. or visit sabcsport.com. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana Bafana on X and TikTok.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mweketi. Because where words fail, music speaks.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, well, let me welcome onto the show Hayley, who is the Managing Executive Real Estate Cluster at Lightstone Properties. And we're going to be looking, Hayley, at how we are performing in as far as the residential property market in the country is concerned. Of course, I think for the last couple of years, it's been mostly seen as a buyer's market. Is that changing? Has that shifted?
Hi, Cathy, and good morning. So I think what we're seeing is a buyer's market in certain parts of the country. It's certainly still a buyer's market in your Gauteng areas. There's opportunity for buyers to be getting property at a good price. Not so much in your Cape Town scenario. Cape Town market's very different. So it's really around what's available, and the price point is also higher. So I mean, we're looking at different pockets within the country, but certainly within Gauteng, we're looking at a buyer's market.
I want to start off with the Western Cape because I've been watching this conversation around property in the Western Cape over the last couple of months, and many South Africans complaining about just how unaffordable property has become for them, as you have a lot of migrants that come in from overseas that buy, and you know they're working of dollars, pounds. They basically benefit off the exchange rate, and it's to the exclusion of South Africans. Speak to me about what is really happening in the Western Cape and what people are feeling. Is that a true reflection of the property market in that province right now?
So the Western Cape, we've seen kind of really an uptick in value of property, and that's really, there's been a big drive since COVID. We've definitely seen this emigration that happened 2020 to 2022. It's still happening, but not on the level that it was happening in those previous years. And what that did was it obviously drove Western Cape property prices up. There was a real demand for properties, and as a result, prices were really high. What we're seeing in the Western Cape at the moment, though, is that prices are starting to stabilize in a way. So it's almost like realizing the true value of properties and the prices thereof. And also, you know, your buyer now is kind of going, well, you know, is it really affordable? And I'm moving from somewhere else and I'm getting something so much smaller and it's costing more. So it's really kind of what's happening in the Western Cape at the moment. But what we're also seeing, obviously, you've mentioned foreigners and foreign buying. So, you know, there's a lot of talk around foreigners buying property, but it's actually very much more on your top end, your really luxury properties that it's happening. And in actual fact, when we look at foreign ownership and foreign buys, it's really a small percentage of the buying that's taking place. You know, if we look at the number of purchases that have happened over a year, it's about 9%, which is quite small. But the reason that we're obviously seeing a lot of foreign buyers coming in and seeing it is because it always makes the headlines, because it's properties that are really expensive. So I just think from that perspective, I think that's kind of what we're seeing in terms of Western Cape. Obviously, Western Cape has got a beautiful look and feel to it. We've got the beaches, we've got beautiful mountains, and that's obviously attractive, for everybody kind of wanting to buy a property that can afford to buy a property. But yes, those are kind of what we're seeing in the Western Cape.
The semigration that you touched on earlier, is that movements internally that we have seen? So people relocating, let's say, from Gauteng or KZN or whichever other province they may be from to relocate to the Western Cape?
Yes, it's definitely all internal. What we're seeing is we actually saw, so semigration is something that happens annually. You can imagine people moving from one province to the other. That happens all the time. But what we saw specifically after COVID was we saw an uptick of that actually happening, where we saw more kind of homeowners moving out of Gauteng and actually into Western Cape. And it was a big percentage up. So Western Cape actually grew in semigration numbers by 40% in terms of the number of people actually coming in from the year before. That was kind of 2019 to 2020. And that kind of stayed at that level where we saw a continual uptick in terms of people moving into the Western Cape, and majority leaving Gauteng. And a lot of that was obviously driven around the fact that through COVID, there was an opportunity to be able to work wherever you could. There was no reliance to come into the office. You could have remote availability to link into whatever you were doing, and this obviously drove that opportunity for that to happen. Subsequently to that, we're starting to see things change. Companies-wise are starting to now kind of say to their employees, like, time to come back into the office. And with that comes obviously a view in terms of some people have actually already moved. So it's actually quite interesting just to watch the dynamic of that happening. But that was definitely a big trend that happened soon after COVID.
When we look at the other provinces, Hayley, maybe even if we come to Gauteng, what is the current state of the Gauteng property market, you would say?
So if we look at Gauteng kind of overall, the numbers are really small in terms of kind of what you're seeing in terms of the value. So if we look at a house price index, and remember your house price index gives you a view in terms of the value that you're going to be getting back on a property and how they're actually performing. If we look back, we're kind of looking at 2021, Gauteng had a house price index of 3.4%. So that's basically saying that, for every property you're going to get 3.4% on average back in return. What actually happened going through that, it started dropping. And in 2023, we actually saw a negative. So what we saw there was, in actual fact, the value of properties in Gauteng had actually become negative, where properties were losing value that were on the market. We've now encouragingly seen a slight uptick again in 2024, which was back up to 0.6%. And it seems to also be climbing a bit in terms of what we're seeing. It's now at 0.7% in January 2025. So it is giving a bit of an uptick. I think in line with that, very much driven by what's happening in the economy, very much driven by interest rates that have slightly come down. We would love more of a drop in interest rates because that obviously drives an ability for somebody to afford to buy a property. So, and I think going through 2023 was where we saw the uptick in interest rates, and that really just made it not affordable for people to be looking at purchasing their own property, but rather renting. And as an effect, we saw the negativity in terms of the purchasing of properties. So we are seeing a slight uptick, which is really encouraging. So we're really hoping for another interest rate drop at some point this year, just to help facilitate and just drive some more of that value.
All right, we're going to continue the conversation with Hayley in a moment. It's edging towards 11:30. Interesting insights, right, coming through in as far as the state of residential property is concerned. And, of course, she is with Lightstone Properties.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news headlines, a man has been gunned down in a suspected gang-related shooting in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson FC Van Wyk says a 13-year-old was wounded and taken to hospital. One armed suspect has been fatally shot and several others wounded during a shootout with police in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg this morning. And the South African Weather Service is urging KwaZulu-Natal residents to be on high alert for disruptive rains across most parts of the province from this evening. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Who will rise in the Hollywood Bets Pro Series, where the top 8 women's cricket teams face off against each other to lift the inaugural Hollywood Bets Pro 50 and Pro 20 trophies? Local pride is at stake with the log table taking shape. Waza nawe! Get down to a stadium near you and show your support. Visit cricket.co.za for more information. Entrance to Hollywood Bets Pro Series matches is free.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on the Talking Point. We're looking at the state of residential property in different parts of the country. If you have a specific question, by the way, for Hayley, I would recommend get in touch as soon as possible. The number to dial on our studio line is 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. And on the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. She's the Managing Executive Real Estate Cluster at Lightstone Properties. So, Hayley, you spoke about a slight recovery of residential properties in the broader Gauteng area. And I know that often when it comes to where the bargaining, where the best bargains are, it often has to do with sort of the price point of properties. Where would you say that the best bargains sit for consumers right now? Which price points should people really be looking at to take full advantage of this buyer's market in the province?
So, Cathy, it's kind of difficult to kind of say, because what we find is that being a buyer's market, it will also depend on the factors in terms of why somebody is selling. So, within areas, it ranges literally from what we call high value, so your 1 million to 2 million, as well as your kind of over 2 million, which is your luxury. I think, there's always opportunity for you to be kind of really testing a potential seller in terms of what they're wanting for their property. If the seller is not under pressure, you may not find the bargain that you're wanting to kind of get, and understanding where the market is. But however, if the seller is under pressure in some way, you may end up getting the property at a price much lower than what the market is actually asking for the property. So, I think it's broad spectrum across more Johannesburg than Pretoria, that we're kind of seeing, there are certainly opportunities for buyers, and to certainly go in and assess where you're wanting to live for various reasons around location, and then testing the potential seller in terms of a price point that may work for both buyer and seller.
One of the things that Brian Hirsch, who deals with our finance segment, always says is that, you've got to be brave enough to make the offer regardless of what the seller is asking for, because you don't know why they're selling. Are you finding that those who are buying properties actually take that on, that people are not afraid to make offers that might seem ridiculous off the face of it, but because you don't know why somebody's selling, they may actually end up taking it?
Absolutely. I think what we're saying is, because we're looking at a market where everybody is aware that property is under a bit of pressure, I think everybody wanting to purchase a property is willing to kind of take a gamble at a lower price point and assessing where the seller is in achieving what they're wanting. So, it's certainly worthwhile in terms of doing that. It's obviously very dependent in terms of where the seller is, but absolutely.
And if we look at the KZN market, because these are now the three biggest sort of urban areas in the country, your Western Cape, KZN, and Gauteng, what is the property market there? How do things look like?
So KZN, as we're aware, also went through a bit of turmoil. We also saw KZN quite high up in the early 20s. So 2020, 2021, it was like 4.7% in terms of the index, which was really good. Very much just behind Cape Town, in actual fact, doing really well. Obviously, KZN went through then quite a rough time in terms of the unrest, the flooding, there's been various aspects in terms of the KZN. And in 2023, we also saw KZN looking at a negative house price index, very similar to a Gauteng, kind of reflecting that the properties were not getting the value that, people were thinking they had the value on. However, we've actually seen KZN do a little bit more of a recovery than Gauteng. It's currently sitting at 1.6%. in terms of house price index, coming off a negative 0.5% in 2023. So it has certainly grown more than your Gauteng market, which is also really encouraging for KZN. And I think, it's starting to kind of assess where it needs to be focused as a province and just working on that just to improve the quality of property.
When you look at what it is that South Africans are looking for in residential properties, what would you say forms the core of that? Is there a common thread, a common wish list that we all have?
So I think it's very much driven by where you are in your life stage. I think what we're seeing is there's a commonality across where you are in life. Whether you're in your 20s, whether you're in your 30s, whether you're starting a family, whether you're retiring. I think when you reach those different stages in life, there tends to be a common kind of view in terms of what you're needing in a property. So we do see some kind of similar trends along that in terms of age. Also, the thing that we always see is your first-time home buyer, and what's really interesting on that just as a buy, is that the average age of a first-time home buyer is 37 years old in South Africa. That somebody on average is buying their first property. So at the age of 37, they're buying their first property, and generally, it's your sectional title. So it's kind of going in at a sectional title level. And then obviously as you kind of expand in life and grow and your life stage becomes different, there's also a growth in terms of the property. So it's those kind of trends that we definitely see. So yes.
Sure. Hayley, as you're sharing that, you're actually making me think about the story of millennials, right? And just how hard we've really had it. And that statistic confirms it, right? That, 37 is, it's quite late in life. Yes, you're not 40 yet, but it is quite late in life for one to be acquiring their first property, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think there's various aspects to it. Obviously, the first one, being affordability. But it's also that there's a different way of looking, from at that age group. What we find is a lot of people are more comfortable renting. Until they feel like they're really wanting to settle down, do they then purchase a property? So I also just think it's the way that everything is moving digitally, that everybody is virtually on 24/7. So I think there's various factors at play, but it is really interesting when we did that analysis to actually find that the average age of a first-time home buyer is 37.
Sure, wow, that's really, really fascinating. Okay, I've got some questions for you. Hayley, before I move on, look, we haven't touched on some of the other provinces. So your Limpopo, your Eastern Capes, your Free State, Mpumalanga. Anything you want to highlight? Maybe that's noteworthy out of those provinces and their own property markets.
So the one that really stands out for us is Limpopo. We've seen a big uptick in terms of the value of property in Limpopo, and I think it's also very much driven around what is happening in some of the towns, specifically around mining and business that has been pulled in. So for Limpopo, as an example, we're sitting at a 6.7% in terms of house price index for 2024, which is higher than even Cape Town. So, the value of properties in Limpopo is up there. And I think it's also just speaking to investment, and I think it's just speaking to what's actually happening within that province. So that's really the outlier for me in terms of the other provinces, just looking at them.
I would agree with you 100%, Haley. I'm from Limpopo. And
okay.
Yeah. And so when one looks at just how much you would be renting just a general unit in town for 5 years ago, those prices have skyrocketed. It feels almost unbelievable. You know, I was looking at the property market that day. I thought, geez, what do they mean? 15,000 rand for a 2-bedroom apartment in Polokwane. What do you think this is? But it really is a significant shift.
It is, and it's all driven by demand, right?
Yeah.
So wherever there's demand, it's going to influence your pricing, which is also speaking to the fact of there's great demand in Limpopo, which is really great.
All right. Let me then bring you some of the questions, Haley, that our listeners are sending through.
Oh.
Hello, Cathy. It's Tammy in East London. You know, Cathy, I think government should intervene in this selling of private property using foreign currency, because you are going to have a lot of rich foreigners owning a huge amount of South Africa. You know that which is happening there in the Orania. We are going to end up having a lot of Oranians, and that will lead us to a state that will be having a more conservative homelands, because that's where this thing is going. This is where it is going. The state should wake up before it's too late.
Haley, what do you make of that there should be some intervention that prevents foreigners from buying, especially particular properties in the country?
So I mean, just alluding to my previous thoughts around foreign buying, is it's actually more on the luxury side. So, you know, my sense on it is the impact is not felt on your average homeowner. And, you know, with it sitting, you know, between 7 and 9% of all transactions happening in the country over a year basis, I'm not seeing that as a threat or a problem at all. You know, so, yeah, I kind of differ a bit there. But, yeah, I mean, everybody, you know, can have a view on it.
All right. Here's another question, and this is around the evaluation of property in Cape Town.
Yes.
Comment regarding property in the Western Cape, especially within 10 to 15 kilometers of the CBD. So the cost is so high, the valuation so high. And there's a blanket approach from the City of Cape Town regarding valuation. My property was valued at 1.6 million by the City of Cape Town. I objected, and then it was brought down to 1.1 million. And I objected again, and then they sent out somebody to come and value the house, and he agreed that it is about 850,000. So that is what it was. But it takes tenacity to do this. So if you're not somebody who is very progressive around these things, then you will be stuck with that 1.6 million house, like many of my neighbors. And then, of course, when the house is sold, then they say, but the City of Cape Town's valuation is 1.6, and that is what it's going for. So they want 1.7 million or 2 million, whatever amount for their homes. And that is how the property value is gradually pushed up.
Okay. Yeah, a different, interesting experience there, Haley. From a resident in Cape Town. Is that something that you're seeing some of? I know in Johannesburg, there've been a number of residents that have objected to the valuations on their properties because, you know, they're losing value in some instances.
Yes. So I think this is a general trend across valuation rules that are done within municipalities. I think just to say that it is really important that you do object, and also just something for everybody's knowledge. Within South Africa, the evaluation of a property can only really be done by a professional valuer who is registered. So just as a matter of interest, so when you go through this process, that will be part of the requirement. But you can also get a market estimate from your estate agent, and you can obviously use a report through Lightstone. But I do think that it's important to know the value of your property, because this is what you're paying in terms of the percentage on rate. And I think this is obviously when municipalities do their valuation role, they naturally do not go to every single property. So there is a process that they apply across properties within the province. So I do think if you feel that your property is not valued accurately through the municipality, please go through the objective process and try and get that adjusted, because it does affect your rates.
All right, let me see if I can squeeze in this last question.
Cathy, without being racist about the question I'm about to pose, majority of suburbs in South Africa are actually still your previous white-owned suburbs pre-1994. So I'd like to ask the lady there, when she looks at demographic ownership and new buyers now into those suburbs, what do the ownership patterns look like? Is it a situation where blacks are actually renting, or if they are buying, they are actually buying into a smaller percentage of existing formal recognized suburbs? Talking now your former towns versus your former townships. Thanks.
All right, there we go. A really important question there, Hayley. Do we have any idea of what that demographic dividend looks like?
I can see it's quite difficult to say, because, what's really hard for us to track is nowhere is it captured in terms of the demographic, specifically on race. It's not captured in the deeds when a property is registered. And we used to have a digit in our ID number that helped with that, but that was removed. So it's actually quite difficult for us to track in terms of how the layout has changed. We are looking at how we can kind of do some level of assessment on this. We have had various requests, so it is kind of work in progress at the moment.
All right. Hayley, thank you so much for your time and just giving us a picture of how things are looking in the country and the decisions people are making about where to live. You know where I wouldn't mind living? I wish we had a beach and an ocean. Wouldn't it be nice if you walked into the studio every morning and you just had this beautiful beach that awaits you? Gqeberha is a really beautiful city. I love Gqeberha. I wouldn't mind living there. No, Kanya's my producer, has run away from Gqeberha to come to the city. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up here for today. We're back tomorrow between 9 and midday.
The citizens are not willing to settle for anything less than a win.
And now it's with Haaland and on to Foden. Foden to finish the game. And he does.
However, the Seagulls want to triple their efforts to collect valuable points against reigning champs.
Lovely touch for Mitoma, and Mitoma could be away. Here it is. Mitoma one-on-one. Mitoma, delightful.
This is the Premier League. Witness the superb contest, Manchester City FC versus Brighton and Hove Albion FC, on Saturday 15 March at 4:30 p.m. Live on S3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Having said that, I mean, your call and your tweet, and I get it as you made the point, you are calling for him to resign. You are serious, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this is the final straw. I think the country has been very patient. We saw how Treasury messed up the first budget a few weeks ago and failed to budget for the areas that needed to be budgeted for, and plunged the country into a potential constitutional crisis, threatened the stability of the government of national unity itself. And now, again, we have a situation where Treasury has mismanaged the budget, all the evidence that we have in front of us, and it's very likely that when it comes to Parliament again, that there's not going to be agreement.
Anil Coleman, a senior policy specialist at the Institute for Economic Justice.
You're listening to the National Pulse. Missed it? Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents another episode of the book The Thing with Zola by Zibu Sitole, read by Lerato Mvelase.
Chapter 10, Unkind Regards. Mbali read Zola's email and almost choked on his whiskey. Sitting in a dimly lit cigar lounge waiting for his friends, he'd imagined that around about now he would be excusing himself to go and see her. It was a simple formula. He would send the flowers, she'd gush her thanks, they'd set up a date, and he'd win her over. There had been some variation, but it had always worked. Until now, because Zola's email had basically said that their interaction wasn't personal enough to be offensive and not effective enough to be impressive. She was simply not interested. No way, he muttered, searching through their email thread for her phone number. He found it and dialed without a second thought. Hello? Zola's voice sounded unsure, almost a whisper. I'm not sure how to address you after your email. Mbali greeted her. Sorry, who is this? Having never spoken to her on the phone, Mbali knew he should have introduced himself. Instead, stung, he started reading Zola's email. Good evening, Mr. Tabete. I would like to extend my gratitude for your support and congratulations during my job search. The email? Clearly, she now knew who he was. Mbali laughed. You know you can tell me to go away without all this professional courtesy. The flowers themselves weren't a professional gesture. I'm trying to get to know you? Zola's only reply was to sigh heavily into the phone. I won't lie, that email caught me off guard. Sending the flowers was a gamble, but I do hope you like them. Zola sighed again. Sorry about the email, she said. The flowers were beautiful and unexpected. Mbali wasn't used to being on the back foot. Clearly, Zola wasn't as easy to impress as he was used to. She clearly wasn't excited by the flowers. He'd searched her social media pages today, and she hadn't even posted pictures of them. And she was cold, no giddiness over his call, not even a little excitement. Zola was different, not the kind of girl he usually went for. The type who knew who he was without introduction, knew what his watch was worth, and unapologetically wanted some of that. Zola intrigued him. So, how was your first day? Mbali asked cautiously. The possibility of being rejected at any moment was thrilling even. It was great, thanks. Hit the ground running, but I'm really grateful for the opportunity. She was being careful, guarded. Even though Mbali didn't know Zola very well, their earlier emails had felt friendlier. Or maybe he had made more of them than there actually was. Well, I'm glad, Mbali said awkwardly. With so little to work with, what else could he say? Zola sighed again. He was obviously boring her or irritating her. Either way, she didn't appear to want to be on the phone with him. Thank you. On her end of the phone, Zola struggled with how to end the call. Sorry, I'm actually in a taxi home right now. I have to go. But I appreciate you calling. Bye. She hung up without even waiting for him to reply. Brah, that was sickening. Mtunzi approached with 2 drinks in his hands. Mbali cringed. You heard that? We all did. Their friend Tapelo sat down. So we moved away as far as possible until you were done. He shivered. I don't even want to know if what you've got is contagious. Mbali nodded. His attempt to try and start something with Zola was pathetic, and it had failed, which only seemed to make him want her more. You guys don't get it. The thrill of the chase. Mbali laughed to console himself. Zola didn't even seem to know he was chasing her. That alone made Mbali wonder about her, and the more he thought about her, the more every little detail he knew about her thrilled him. She was what he wanted to be, everything she had. Although he knew it couldn't be very much she'd gotten on her own. He didn't really know anyone like that. As unreasonable as it was, he wanted more than anything to understand her. Let me put you guys in the picture since Mbali here is obviously too ashamed to. Mthunzi started. Mbali was supposed to recruit Miss Attitude to do our logistics, but she messed up the interview, so Mbali couldn't offer her the job. Mthunzi shrugged. But she's hot, so now he's chasing her and acting like an idiot. What the hell, bruh? Thapelo laughed. If she's not interested, there are many girls who are. Cut your losses, man. Mbali glared at Mthunzi. Don't you guys get tired of being with women who don't like you? He countered. Seriously, do you think these women who don't bother getting to know you actually like you? Thapelo and Mthunzi both flung up their